Okay, so one of the basics about InfoNet is this public website. This is new. We launched this last fall. It's for a source where you all can get resources about InfoNet, and it also just provides general information to anybody from the general public that's interested in learning more about it or what data it contains. So to identify the user resources, you can, and I'm sorry, this website is infonet.icja.illinois.gov. We post some data on here commonly. We try to post monthly news blurbs using InfoNet data, links to research articles that directly used InfoNet data or just might be beneficial to the victim services field, even if they didn't include analysis of InfoNet data. You can look at these right here. Here is the victim service planning research report I referenced earlier. Some general questions about InfoNet, and then if you click resources, user information and resources, this is where you can find a lot of helpful information. The manual, which I know needs to be updated. We're hoping to get that done in the next fiscal year. Definitions for InfoNet, most specifically the service categories, which I am recently working with the ICADV team to update. So you will receive an updated definitions document very soon. When we record trainings, we post them here. So right now we have 3 on here. You can view trainings on using the new client needs and updates feature, which was part of InfoNet Stepping Forward, generating HUD reports directly from your InfoNet account, and then using InfoNet's household feature to link clients together as part of a household. If you use data entry forms, you like to have paper forms and fill those out and use those to enter into InfoNet, you can download copies of those right here. Frequently asked questions. If you need a custom data report, we'll go over InfoNet's reports tomorrow, but sometimes you're looking for information out of InfoNet that you can't find a report that specifically meets that need. And if that's the case, please reach out to us because we can create a custom data report for you that better meets your needs. So that's the InfoNet website. Now I'm actually going to go to the live system. Sorry, I have too many things open. Okay, so there are 2 doors to get through InfoNet. And as Tara mentioned earlier, if you are a better learner while doing hands-on and you have 2 monitors, feel free to log into InfoNet and follow along with me. You're not going to be logging into your own provider's account. I'm going to give you credentials for a training account, which is a mock domestic violence center. So you can enter anything you want in there without worry of messing up your actual data. But this is the first door you need to get through. So you go to that website, and there are different websites. We actually have you divided into groups. So you're using different URLs here. So I cannot provide that, but hopefully you know that. And if you don't, please send an email to InfoNet Help. I'm going to go ahead and log in to the VPN. This is the first door you have to go through. And at this point, I am logging in as me, Jennifer Heiselman. And I understand we've had some issues here lately with downloading the applications that need to be installed. We did do a reboot yesterday and hope that that has helped. Hopefully it's helping me too. I'm going to try again. Okay, so once you're through this door, there are 2 links here. InfoNet 3.0 is what you want to click to get directly to the application. We also have a link here to the InfoNet public website, which I just showed. However, because you are now in the VPN, you can click this and it's not going to let you go there. So just know to get to the InfoNet public site, you need to open a new window that's not connected to InfoNet's VPN or virtual private network. So I'll go ahead and click InfoNet 3.0. And this is where you log in as your organization. I'm not logging in as Jennifer Heiselman. I'm logging in as the name of my provider. And so you all should know the credentials to log into your organization's account. For today, if you're following along, we're going to log into the DV Training Center, and the username and the password for that are both DV Training, all uppercase. The username is actually not case sensitive, but the password is, and you want to make sure DV Training, all one word, uppercase. And you can use this training site anytime. If you want to give somebody experience entering data in InfoNet without worry of messing up your actual data, this site you can enter fake clients, services, delete stuff, edit whatever you want. It's a free for all basically. So always feel free to use this as a resource if helpful. I don't have any messages up here now, but you want to pay attention to the welcome screen. Like if InfoNet has some downtime, I will post an announcement here. If you have a funder that's going to be running a report soon and you need to know when your data need to be entered by, that's another example of a common message. Or maybe the funder has already run the report and you need to go in and review it. You will also see that here. And just some tips on overall navigation. Everything is pretty, I'm going to add a new adult, and you all can follow along with me again if you wish. Some people like the hands-on component, whereas others just like to watch and soak in the knowledge without having to do any typing. But throughout InfoNet, most of the fields are either drop-down menus, check boxes, numeric. There are very few text boxes or dates. And there is a top navigation bar to get you to the different main sections of InfoNet. And then once you are in a particular record, you can use this side menu here to navigate within a client's record. If you see a field with an asterisk, that means that data field is mandatory, and InfoNet actually won't let you save a client until you enter something in that field, even if it's unknown or not reported. You have to at least put something in there. There are other data fields that may be required by a funder, but they're not necessarily asterisked in InfoNet. That's because not everybody receives the same grants. So it is your responsibility to know which data points are required by your different funders. And if they're optional, that means it's just that they're optional, but you may choose to enter data in that field anyway, because it is something valuable for you to use later that helps you look at your work more closely and improve your work. So I'm going to go ahead and enter a mock adult client. And I'm going to make their first contact date. And I'd recommend if you're entering a client, you do this as well. Make the first contact date maybe at least a couple weeks ago, so you have time to enter subsequent data. So I'm going to say ICJGV 1B. And hopefully that client ID is not taken up. I'm going to make my client's first contact date May 1st. Gender identity. Race and ethnicity is check all that apply. You enter sexual orientation. Veteran status. Unknown and not reported. You will see these as options in many drop-down menus and maybe wondering what the difference is. The difference is unknown is just that you do not know this information. And it's helpful to enter unknown, because that means it wasn't just that the data entry field was missed or somebody was distracted and didn't finish entering data. You did enter the data, you just didn't know that information at the time. Not reported could mean one of two things. One, it means that this is systematically not collected. Maybe it's never collected. Maybe it's not collected for a subgroup of survivors. So if my client is, say, 16, maybe we don't collect veteran status for anybody under the age of 18. So that would be a situation where you'd select not reported. Not reported can also mean the client declined to provide that information. They just didn't want to provide that. So that's another reason why you would enter not reported. Employment status is simply full, part-time, or not employed. Highest level of education completed. Marital status. Whether or not they're pregnant. And number of children. This is not necessarily all children, but it's children that your client is caring for at least some of the time. It doesn't have to mean formal custody. It doesn't mean adult independent children. It means the number of children that they are in care of at least part of the time. And it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be under 18. They could be 19 or maybe a little older, but they're children that they are caring for at least some of the time. Primary presenting issue is a required field. This is actually showing that this person did experience victimization in some form. Primary is required, and it gives you three options: physical, emotional, and sexual. I know many of your clients probably experience multiple forms of violence. So it may be challenging to pick one, but you want to pick the most primary presenting issue for your survivor. And oftentimes that's an incident that really prompted that person to come to you for help. These are optional, but can be very helpful. Primary offense location, again, referring to the incident that prompted them to come to you for help. And then about when that offense happened. It doesn't have to be exact if you know about when that happened. If they say it happened last month, you could say April 30th or the middle of the month. It can be approximate. And then other presenting issues, this is where you can indicate other types of victimization this person experienced. So maybe they experienced sexual assault when they were younger. Maybe they've experienced human trafficking in their past. Maybe they are being stalked or experiencing spiritual abuse. We added financial abuse a few years ago, as we heard from you all that many of your clients are experiencing that. So you can go ahead and check any other victimization issues are present for your client. And then the income section, there's an unknown if you just don't know that information. If your client has zero financial resources, you can check that box. And for any financial resources or sources of income they have, you want to check whatever that is. Did I indicate this client was employed? I can't remember. Not employed. Okay, so I'm not going to use earned income. I'll say child support, and then you want to enter the monthly amount they receive. And then any other sources of income. Here we have non-cash benefits or public benefits your client might be receiving. If they don't receive any public benefits, you can check client receives no non-cash benefits. If they do receive certain benefits, you have a link card, Section 8 assistance, TAMF services of any kind. And then on the right-hand side here, we have types of health coverage your client receives. If they don't have any health insurance, you could check no health insurance. There's private health insurance, other types of health care your clients may have. This is actually going to be expanding a little bit after July 1 because HUD requires more specific types here. So we're breaking private health insurance into three more specific groups: employer provided health coverage, COBRA, and then other private pay insurance, I believe. So you'll see a small change there for next fiscal year. referral source. Whatever organization, usually it's one, sometimes it's more than one, that's okay. You want to check whatever type of organization referred your client to your organization. And you can actually select the specific organization that referred this client to you by using the agency name box. I'll show you how to, now this agency field is not the same statewide. It is locally managed by yourselves, and I will show you how to do that in a moment. You can indicate types of agencies you've referred this client to. And then the next section is for any special needs. If they don't have special needs, you can check that box. If they have limited English, you want to check has limited English proficiency and then enter the primary language of that person. And if they have any disabilities that meet the description in the box, you can go ahead and check that. I also forgot to mention all of the InfoNet fields have hover help. So if you hover over certain fields, and of course now I'm not seeing it, yes, you will see more information about that field. I should have known to mute my cell phone or turn it silent. Again, if you hover over, it tells you more information about the field. So if you're struggling to understand what should go in there, use the hover help, and that will provide additional instruction. This is the residence section. We do enter where the client lives down to the zip code level. That is the most specific we get. And you can enter multiple residence records. So if your client moves to a different residence while they're engaged in services with you, you can add another record. I'm going to add one record here. And when adding the very first residence record for a client, the effective date is going to match my first contact date, which is May 1st. So it puts that in there for me. So I'm going to indicate the county, the zip code, and the town. And if you start typing, your selections will narrow. And here's the residence type field. So you want to indicate what type of residence your client is living in. These will also change a little bit after July. And then how long they've been living in that location. Okay, next we have client needs. This is optional, but it's a needs assessment for you if you find it helpful. To look at definitions for these needs, you just want to hover over the I, and the definition of that will appear. And you want to just, if this is a need for your client, even if you don't provide services to help address that need, I would recommend checking it. It's just a list of needs that they have around the time of intake or when they're first coming to you for help. So almost everybody, I think, has a need for safety planning, especially at first. If they have any housing needs, you can check that. Some fundamental needs are listed here. Emotional support, different types of advocacy assistance, and other types of support. Children's services is here, but I don't have a definition, and I don't know why. So we may remove that unless we have suggestions for a definition. And this list of needs was part of InfoNet's Stepping Forward, that project. And these were come up with by an advisory group made up of folks like you that helped inform what categories should be here and what their definitions should be. Now, this is program enrollment. This is kind of in its infancy stages now. It's part of also part of an InfoNet Stepping Forward upgrade. Right now, there are only two selections, court advocacy and rapid rehousing. And we had to put this here because those of you that are getting rapid rehousing grants from HUD, you definitely want to use this section. If you're not getting that grant, This is totally optional. But for HUD rapid rehousing, you want to indicate that yes, my client is enrolled in a rapid rehousing program, and you want to enter the date they are beginning that program. Once they leave the program, you're going to want to enter an end date, but you don't need to enter that at first because you probably don't know. And then later, it may be July, but it might be a little later than that. This will eventually become a locally controlled list by you. So if you want to track clients specifically in your DV education program or long-term counseling program, you can create those internal programs that you have, and then you'll have the ability to pull data for only clients that are enrolled in those internal programs that you're running. So stay tuned for that. This is previous service use. This was required by HUD a long time ago and is no longer required. So we're going to just get rid of this for next fiscal year and replace it with some other HUD required data elements, unless we hear from one of you that really finds this helpful. But in the 10 years it has been here, I have not heard a peep about that. So if you find this section valuable about previous service use, please let me know. And so I have now completed intake on my client, and I'm going to go ahead and save. And I've now created this client record. You can see the client ID number in the upper right corner here. I have a successful save message in the lower right corner, and I have established my client record. I'm going to stop recording and take any